So I hope you're excited. Mike mentioned Atlassian Connect in the fireside chat. We mentioned it again in the keynote this morning. It's a huge step for Atlassian's development platform. It's probably the biggest step we've ever taken in terms of integration and development. And it's a really hard technical challenge. And to solve a really hard technical challenge, you need a really badass dude. And so we found this guy, Tanguy. In his spare time, he free dives up to like 90 meters without scuba gear. And in the rest of the time, he's diving through our plugin system. So Tanguy Cresson.
Yeah, thanks. That's going to be hard to be taken seriously after that, but I'll try. All right, so as Dave said, I'm the product manager for Atlassian Connect. It's our development platform to build add-ons and integrations for JIRA and Confluence on the cloud, which is available today. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about how we came about building Connect, as well as some of the technical challenges we basically solved along the way. And you can basically see more and more in this presentation what you can do with it today. So I'll just start with a bit of history. You've been able to build add-ons for JIRA, Confluence, and most of our other products for the past decade. And that was using the Atlassian plugin SDK. Now, this method of building add-ons has been working really well for us. In the past decade, we had 1,500 add-ons on the marketplace. They've been installed up to 300,000 times. So we can't really say that this model has failed us on on-premise instances. The principle is actually relatively simple. You're a developer. You have to be a Java developer. You build code in Java, which you package up, and that you're able to run in process in our products. So as I said, this model has been really successful for us, and we had a number of really good surprises with it. So you're probably aware, but if you're not, JIRA Agile used to be a plugin, which was called Greenhopper, built using the plugin SDK, and it's now a major part of our offering. So while this model was very good for us for on-premise instances, it was unfortunately not something that was going to scale for the cloud, and that for a number of reasons. The first one is that everything runs in process, which means that when we move to a multi-tenanted environment, the impact that your add-ons can have by being able to steer resources from more important processes was going to be quite huge. So we had to solve this problem. How do we make add-ons that don't consume resources from processes that should be more important, and how can we make the two scale independently? The second problem we had was that the SDK was Java only. And that's a problem for us for two reasons. The first one is if you're a vendor of a SaaS application, which was built in Ruby, for example, and you want to build an integration with an Atlassian product, which makes also our own products more attractive, it's going to be fairly unattractive to have to learn the Java stack, learn all the decisions that we have to take when building our own Java stack to be able to build a simple integration. And the second reason why it was a big problem was that since we had JIRA, Confluence, and Stash, and so on, we also started working on products, Bitbucket and HipChat, that were not built in Java. So we couldn't use the SDK to provide the same extensibility story we had with our, what we would call older products, to these new products. And integrations, building integrations between these new products and JIRA, Confluence, Stash, and so on was a major challenge for us. Lastly, you're able to call private APIs using the SDK, which means that you're able to access stuff that really you shouldn't have to play with and know about, because we're about to break them from one version of the product to the next. And those APIs can change without any notice, and your add-ons could break without any notice from one version of our product to the next. This strong coupling that was created between add-ons and our products was just not something we were able to live with in the cloud, where we want to be able to scale massively. Some people say that they are good problems to have, and that's one of them. Our cloud offering is growing extremely quickly. 66% of new customers come through this channel, so we had to be able to scale massively. So that didn't leave us in a very happy state. We had no platform that could really scale to the cloud. Customers wanted add-ons. Vendors wanted to be able to build them. We didn't really have a good solution. So we started experimenting with something that was the plugins 3 framework. So we know we were at iteration 2. And we started with the idea that what we wanted to have was a container that we could deploy separately from our products, where we could host add-ons and decide whether we wanted these add-ons to live in the product or outside of the product. Now, building a container that was going to scale massively and scale that to the cloud as well is something that was much harder than what we anticipated, and we ended up in a not such happy state with a project that basically ended up not succeeded as we wanted. So we went back to the drawing board, and looking at what was best practices in the industry, we realized that really what we were trying to do is to provide a microservices platform. So we wanted to be able for basically vendors to build services which could be hosted independently from our platform, that could integrate very richly with our products, so that when customers bought our products and these add-ons together, it could work seamlessly while keeping the technical hurdles basically out of their mind. So if you learned a bit about microservices architectures, you know that what we had to focus on was a platform which is language agnostic, meaning you should be able to choose any language to build an add-on for any Atlassian product. It doesn't have to be Java if you're doing it in JIRA. You should be able to scale it independently from our own platform. So you should be able to take your add-on, an analytics add-on, something that crunches data in JIRA, a bit like what some of our vendors like EasyBI do, for example, to create reports, independently from the way we basically scale our platform. We need add-ons to be completely loosely coupled with our products, so only through public contracts. So no more of that basically private API crap where you're able to see stuff that you shouldn't be able to see, and where we could break basically contracts that were supported in previous versions of products. You need to be able to rely on our platform to build something that's going to scale and grow as we also ship new versions of our products. And that's basically what we built in Atlassian Connect. So what's Atlassian Connect, or what makes it great, is actually three main things. The first one is the overarching principle that add-ons need to run independently from our products. The product on one side, the add-on on the other. And they only talk using web protocols and standard web protocols, no custom stuff. An add-on publishes a descriptor to an Atlassian product, which basically describes how the add-on wants to extend the product. What are the UI elements that the add-on wants to contribute to? What are the APIs that the product wants to call? And what are the notifications that the add-on wants to receive from the product? So only standard stuff in the middle. From an add-on backend, the way you integrate with an Atlassian application is through very standard stuff. First one, REST APIs. So you don't call inner APIs in Java. You basically need to we expose a list of REST APIs that are public that you can access. You can also receive notifications for significant events that happen in the products from within your add-on. So example of REST APIs would be create an issue. An example of webhooks would be notify me when a new issue is created. We spent a lot of time cleaning our act on this. And that's something that happens in the industry happens a lot at the moment. We came up with a REST API policy, which basically defines that whatever we do has to be forward compatible. So if you have an add-on that works today with REST APIs that we provide today, it's going to work tomorrow with no changes when we release a new version of our products. That's part of the things that we defined in the REST API policy to provide stability and loose coupling between add-ons and our products. So that's backend integration, pretty standard stuff. We basically just cleaned our act there. What's really innovative in what we did is the next step, which is UI integration. We wanted add-ons to be able to provide rich integrations from a user perspective in our products. And that's what made the model really successful with our plugins framework, so we couldn't really give up on that. If you read on microservices architectures, you'll realize that while we talk a lot about backend, very few people try to tackle the UI challenge. How can I add a panel in a specific part of an application, for example? The way you do that in Connect is, again, through the descriptor, provide a description of which places in the UI you want to extend and what resources from your add-on will be providing the data. So for example, say that you're in a JIRA issue and you want to add a panel on the bottom right side that would provide statistics on issues for the project that the issue is in. You would do that by extending specific locations, which are all public, and pointing to URLs which are exposed by your add-on. And then what the product would do through Connect is to actually load the remote content from your add-on. So let's look at that in a bit more details. The way this works is when the user logs in, we pull content from Confluence or JIRA and display that, create iframes for every place that your add-on wants to extend. Now, if you're familiar with iframes, you know that it's a fully sandbox environment. What's in the green square right there can't impact the host product. The host product can't impact what's in the iframe. So we've got a clean cut between what your UI does and what our UI does as well. In this iframe, we load content from the add-on and display it. Now, since we're talking about web technologies right here, what you can use to build basically UI extensions is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, pretty standard stuff. Now, the power of JavaScript, CSS, and HTML means that you can basically build rich client applications that all work from within the browser without having to have any backend. So for example, if you want to integrate with Google Maps to, and that's what one of our developers did, add Google Maps support in Confluence, all you'd have to do is to build something in JavaScript that makes use of the APIs and JavaScript libraries provided by Google, and you can build an add-on with that doesn't need any backend. So no need for an application server, a database, or any of that. You just need basically to be writing JavaScript and pushing that on the CDN. You have very powerful graphing APIs and libraries that are provided by D3, for example, and there's a lot of other vendors that provide really amazing APIs. Firebase is one that we like a lot, and Firebase is actually going to do a talk later as well on how you can use Connect with Firebase. So you can store data without having to maintain your own databases, and they provide APIs that can work directly in JavaScript, right? So no backend required there either. Now, that enables you to create add-ons that basically look good, but how about integrating with the Confluence or JIRA backend to retrieve data and so on and so forth? One of the limitations of iframes, or one of their power as well, is that things are segregated. So the iframe runs in one domain, our product runs in the Atlassian domain. So we can't really talk to each other. And we wanted to push that further by providing bridges between the two while still maintaining the sandboxing. And what we built is a number of JavaScript libraries that are available to you. So from within the iframe, you can actually make calls to the backend product by using a user session. That's something which is really powerful that we haven't seen anywhere else. So basically, you can write code, talk to a REST API, which is exposed by JIRA and Confluence, for example, to store data against an issue or against a project, against a page, or against a space. Those APIs are available today, and you can store JSON object against them. Going further, say that your add-on extends multiple parts of the UI. Because they run in separate iframes, they can't really communicate, so we provided cross-domain messaging. So basically, if you, say, edit an issue or a property in a particular iframe, and you want to have another panel which shows a summary of multiple issues, you can actually, as soon as you update in one panel, the user clicks on it, it automatically notifies the other panel through our cross-domain messaging system and be refreshed automatically. So you can really create rich UIs using JavaScript applications. So we've got a number of add-ons that use this paradigm today. And you can talk, for example, to Roberto from Comanatech, who's been building all these add-ons, Canvas, and so on, purely as JavaScript applications. But we didn't stop there. In particular, we wanted to enable add-ons that had a backend to be able to do heavy crunching of data and so on. So since your add-on is built using standard web technologies, talks to the products using standard web technologies as well, it means that there's no limitation in what languages you can use for the backend. We've got vendors like Lucidchart, for example, using Scala to build the backend. We've got even frameworks that we published ourselves to support Microsoft.NET, so you can write add-ons using Microsoft.NET that extend JIRA and Confluence. Node.js, so if you really like JavaScript for the server side as well, there's no limitation there. And we don't have any limitations either on how you can actually host these add-ons. So they can be hosted on the cloud. We use a lot Amazon Web Services. We use a lot Heroku as well for our add-ons. We've got a number of vendors working with the Google Cloud Platform. And other vendors and customers actually use their own servers as well. So you could expose data for your own applications through add-ons that are hosted by your own applications as well, and that are available in JIRA or Confluence Cloud. One thing we're discovering, we're also discovering as we go and as we build our own add-ons as well as building the platform, is that it's the end of the not built here syndrome. Since you're not limited to what the Java stack that we have at Atlassian to be able to build add-ons, it means that you can actually reuse services on the web, cloud services that do stuff that would take you a lot of time to build on your own. Things like Elasticsearch, for example, if you want to do some heavy crunching of data with a lot of history, or Redis if you want to do basically pub/sub type applications. And there's actually a number of examples we've got internally of how we use Connect. One of them was built for Confluence. So as you probably know, we're heavy users of our own products. And when you have 1,000 people collaborating in one instance of Confluence, fighting for people's attention, it's often pretty hard to know how well your content is received and who you should be tracking down to read your pages and whatnot. So that's currently missing in Confluence. But someday, a developer from the Confluence team realized that and saw an opportunity for a Connect add-on and built the Confluence Statistics Add-on. So the idea is that when you're viewing a page, you're able to tell who's looking at it right now and who has viewed the page across the history as well as the popularity of this page. And believe me, it's great. You're in the office and you know that someone hasn't read your page. You keep nagging them until they appear on that little box right there. Some people really like Sam. Some people really hate him now. But yeah, we're very happy with what he's done there. The way it's been built is standard Connect architecture. And Sam really went to town in the technologies that he used there to use the best of breed for any technology for any part of his application. So first, it's built as a Node.js application with a stateless router. So it can be scaled infinitely or horizontally. Right? So these routers are hosted on Heroku, which is basically a layer on top of Amazon Web Services. These routers basically do two things, is to route web presence information, so who's looking at my page right now on Redis, which is great for basically pub/sub type stuff, and Elasticsearch, where he builds a history of who's viewed pages throughout the history. And that way you can actually extend basically that on later on to add things like, for example, the concept of reach. So how many people should have read my page and haven't done it yet, so we can actually track them down. This add-on is already live. We're actually talking about how we can make it available to anyone on the marketplace as well. That's one of the examples of what we built with Connect. Now, what we're realizing is that what you can do with it now is already to build a collection of microservices that integrate with your application data and processes and make them available to JIRA and Confluence and the products that we'll start supporting soon as well. We'll talk about that later. And that's something we discovered with Connect. I mean, it started for us as a way to build integrations, well, to build add-ons for JIRA and Confluence Cloud and our next generation platform for add-ons. But what we realized along the way is Connect is much more than that. Because of the standard patterns that we support here, it's actually the way that we are seeing now how we'll integrate our products with any SaaS platform, as well as integrating our products with each other. So there's a really good example of that tomorrow by Patrick Stroll, architect in the Connect team, who's going to talk about how we've built Bitbucket to HipChat integration using Connect. So Connect today is supported in JIRA, Confluence, and in some form in HipChat, mainly for the backend stuff. Not the UI yet, but it's going to come. We've got more than 10,000 installations right now across public and private add-ons, which for a framework which has been available since March is actually quite impressive. We've had a major breakthrough with vendors, especially in the last few months, who are working with us to build the next add-ons. Coming up fairly soon, we're working on that, is support for server installations. So there's no reason that people who have a server installation of JIRA and Confluence shouldn't be able to install add-ons that were built using Connect. And something we're really excited about is the support for Bitbucket. Give the ability for developers to extend the tools that they work with every day, and you're bound to be amazed with what they come up with. Some things we could just foresee, but we know we're going to be surprised with what vendors come up with, is, for example, custom code viewers. So if you're in the scientific market, academic market, you want to display LaTeX files directly without having to look at source code. Or custom D viewers. So you work in the 3D printing market, and you want to know what difference between a file that was designed in version 1 and version 2, so you can adjust things. That's things that we foresee, but there could be so much more. Like, for example, pushing automatic changes to HTML files that are pushed through FTP to a target server, for example. Those are just things we are thinking about, but as with everything, and like what Greenhopper showed us, you guys are going to be the ones really surprising us with how you can extend our products. So we can't wait to see what's coming. And Connect is available today, connect.atlassian.com. You can get it through the developer.atlassian.com website. You've got tutorials. You've got everything that you need to get started. And if you've got any questions, we'll be around. The whole Connect team is there. And you can come and talk to us about what you're planning to build.
Thank you so much, Tanguy.